Imagine walking into a space, maybe it's your home after a long day, or that crucial meeting at work. You instantly feel this deep sense of calm, a knowing that you are safe, that you're truly understood and genuine connected to the people around you. That feeling. When a relationship is thriving, where respect and understanding aren't just words, but they're lived realities, it's incredibly powerful. But here's the big question, the real challenge. How do we actually build that kind of trust? It certainly doesn't just appear out of thin air, does it? It's built brick by brick, day by day, habit by habit. So this deep dive is all about cracking the code, really, of trust and connection. We're going to explore how consistent, often seemingly small, actions can fundamentally transform your most important relationships, whether they're personal, like with a partner or a friend, or professional with your team or colleagues. We'll unpack the tangible actions, the subtle psychological shifts, and the profound emotional tools that allow trust to flourish, creating relationships that are not just secure, but deeply fulfilling and, well, resilient.
What's truly fascinating about trust, I think, is that it's not some static achievement. It's not like, okay, check that box, done, forget about it. No, trust it's a living, breathing process. It really is.
Yeah.
And it demands continuous effort, real commitment from everyone involved. Think of it as this invisible but incredibly strong bond, the thing that actively fosters intimacy and deep vulnerability and truly open communication. When trust is present, it creates this incredible haven, right? A safe space where we can genuinely be ourselves, where we feel loved, valued, and utterly secure. But, and this is the hard part, when that trust is shattered, that haven collapses. And rebuilding it, that takes immense intentionality and courage. So this raises a really crucial question for all of us, I believe. What exactly are the core components, these foundational pillars, the things that allow us to build such a vital structure and make sure it can withstand, the inevitable trials of life and time?
That's a powerful image. Trust as this non-negotiable foundation, like a skyscraper, you said. So what are these essential components then, these building blocks we need to start with right from the ground up?
Well, it all really begins with a few core pillars. And in my, 20 years now of observing human connection, these consistently appear across all healthy relationship contexts. These aren't just abstract ideas, they're actionable elements, things you can actually do. And we're going to dive into how these pillars, they don't just build trust, they also cultivate understanding and a sense of security that can genuinely withstand almost anything life throws at you.
Okay, so first pillar. We hear it all the time. Communication is key in relationships. But what does that really mean in the day-to-day work of building trust? Is it simply about talking more? Or airing every single thought we have?
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's far from just talking more, thankfully. Effective communication is truly the cornerstone here. And that's because it involves expressing your thoughts and feelings. Honestly, yes, that's part of it. But equally, it demands truly listening. Really listening. It's about creating an environment where dialogue isn't just permitted, but it's actively encouraged, and where feelings can be shared without that nagging fear, that fear of judgment or criticism. It's a true two-way street. Speaking your truth and absorbing your partner's truth, both are equally important for the traffic to flow smoothly.
It's fascinating because we all think we know how to listen, right? But there's a specific, powerful tool that goes way beyond just hearing words. Can you walk us through what active listening truly entails? How does it differ from what most of us think we're doing?
Exactly. Active listening. It's such a critical component, and it moves far beyond just hearing. Think about it. How many times have you been in a conversation, maybe nodding along, but secretly you're just rehearsing your next point in your head, waiting to jump in? Active listening is, the opposite of that. It means paying full, undivided attention to the other person, truly reflecting on their words and their emotions, and then responding with genuine understanding and deep empathy. This whole approach actively reduces misunderstandings. It vastly improves clarity because it prompts you to paraphrase what you've heard, ask clarifying questions. It ensures that the message received is actually the message that was intended rather than just, a guessed version of it.
So breaking it down then, when we talk about active listening, what are the actual elements? How do we do it practically?
Okay, let's get practical. There are several key elements, and each one is crucial for fostering that deeper connection. First, and this sounds obvious, but it's hard, give your full attention. This means removing all distractions, put the phone away, turn off the TV, maybe even notice if you're uncomfortable and fidgeting. Focus solely on the speaker. And try not to interrupt. Maintaining eye contact, if that feels comfortable in your culture, is a simple but powerful nonverbal cue. Shows you're engaged. Second, paraphrase. So after your partner or colleague speaks, repeat back what you heard them say, but in your own words. This isn't just about showing you understood. It actually helps you avoid misinterpretations. And it gives the speaker a chance to say, yeah, that's it. Or, no, actually what I meant was, Abura. Third, ask clarifying questions. When something isn't clear, don't guess. Don't assume. Ask follow-up questions to get a deeper, more nuanced understanding of their perspective. Things like, could you tell me more about that? Or, what did you mean when you said? Whew. This keeps everyone on the same page. Fourth, reflect on emotions. This is huge. Pay attention not just to the words being said, but also the tone of voice, the body language, what are the underlying emotions. Then respond in a way that acknowledges those feelings. It sounds like you're feeling really frustrated, or I can see this is upsetting you. It shows you see and hear them on a deeper level, an empathetic level. And finally, number 5, respond with empathy and understanding. Show you are genuinely trying to understand their point of view, even if you don't agree with it. That's key. And crucially, avoid getting defensive or interrupting. Those are conversation killers. They build walls instead of bridges.
Wow, yeah, I can really see how each of those pieces fits together. So when people actually do this, when they genuinely practice active listening, what are the real measurable impacts? What have you seen in their relationships? What does it actually do beyond just making someone feel heard in the moment?
Oh, the benefits are truly profound and far-reaching. They build stronger bonds across all kinds of relationships. When active listening is practiced consistently, you'll definitely see improved communication. It's the most obvious one. It just cuts down on misunderstandings, improves clarity, messages get received as intended. It also organically leads to increased empathy because it actively promotes reflecting on and responding to the other person's emotions. It genuinely helps you, walk in their shoes. And this directly fosters greater trust. Why? Because it creates a safe, supportive environment. People feel comfortable sharing their deepest thoughts and feelings without that fear of judgment. During disagreements, it leads to reduced conflict because it helps people work together to find solutions and compromises that meet both of their needs rather than just escalating the tension or trying to win. And here's one that's maybe less obvious, but deeply significant. It results in improved intimacy. It really deepens that emotional connection. And, while a lot of the evidence for physical intimacy comes from clinical practice, studies consistently suggest a clear link between effective communication and, yes, sexual satisfaction. It highlights how open dialogue about needs and desires is just as crucial in the bedroom as it is, say, in the boardroom.
Okay, that all sounds amazing. So if it's so incredibly beneficial, why do we struggle with it so much? Why is it so hard? What are the common barriers that stop us from being truly active listeners, even when we know we probably should be?
Right. It's a great question. If we connect this to the bigger picture of just, human behavior, there are common tendencies that often get in the way of effective listening. The first, and probably the most obvious, are distractions. Simple as that. These can be external, the noisy cafe, the pinging notifications on our phones, the kids running around, or they could be internal. Physical discomfort, maybe you're hungry, or just those incessant preoccupying thoughts about your own stuff. They break your focus and prevent that full, present engagement. Another really significant barrier is defensiveness. Oh boy. When you feel attacked or criticized, even slightly, your natural reaction is often to put up a shield, right? To protect yourself. This makes it incredibly difficult to truly hear and understand the other person's perspective. Your brain just shifts into self-protection mode. And finally, a big one is misunderstandings, often stemming from unspoken expectations or just unexamined assumptions. We think we know what the other person means or what they should mean. It's absolutely crucial to check in, to clarify, to ensure you have mutual understanding, rather than just assuming, because, as they say, assumptions, they often lead to trouble in relationships.
Okay, so we know the barriers. How do we actually get better? How do we practice this? What are some practical steps or maybe even exercises we can do to become better, more consistent, active listeners? Because it really does sound like a muscle we need to train.
Exactly. It's absolutely a muscle. And like any muscle, it gets stronger with practice. There are lots of techniques, even structured activities, that can enhance active listening skills and turn them into powerful habits. So beyond those foundational tips we just covered, full attention, paraphrasing, clarifying questions, reflecting emotions, responding with empathy, avoiding defensiveness, we've got a whole toolbox here. Let's maybe spotlight a few that really stand out for practice. For ensuring you're truly hearing what's said, the mirroring exercise is incredibly powerful. One person shares a thought, maybe for a minute or two, and the other repeats it back verbatim, word for word. It sounds simple, maybe even a bit robotic, but it forces accurate understanding and gives the speaker a chance to hear their own words reflected back. It's surprisingly effective. To build that emotional attunement, you could try an emotion labeling activity. During a conversation, consciously focus on identifying and acknowledging each other's emotions. I hear frustration in your voice, or it seems like you're feeling disappointed. This really enhances empathy and emotional understanding, makes the feelings visible. And for a disciplined approach to staying present, the no interruption rule can be transformative. Set a timer, maybe just 5 minutes to start. One person speaks without any interruption, while the other just listens attentively. Practices undivided attention. Then you switch. These are just a few examples, but they show how intentional practice can change the game, moving from just hearing to truly listening. Oh, and another one many couples find really transformative is a weekly check-in ritual. Dedicate a specific time each week, maybe Sunday evening, for open, honest conversation. Use these active listening techniques to share thoughts, feelings, experiences from the week. Makes it a habit.
Those sound like genuinely impactful exercises, things you can actually try. Can you give us some real-life scenarios where active listening really made a profound difference in a relationship? Hearing how these play out in daily life, I think that really brings them home for people.
Yeah, absolutely. These experiences, they really illustrate how these techniques can shift dynamics from conflict straight to connection. So consider Sarah and David. They were often fighting about money. Sarah was worried about debt. David felt they deserved to have more fun. Typical scenario, right? When Sarah brought it up, David immediately got defensive. Here we go again. But instead of reacting defensively herself, Sarah took a breath. She remembered active listening. She gave David her full attention, then calmly paraphrased, "Okay, so it sounds to me like you're saying that you really want to enjoy life, have fun, even if it means spending a bit more right now." Then she asked a clarifying question. "Can you tell me more about why you feel like we can afford that at the moment?" Before gently reflecting his emotions. "It sounds like you feel like we both work really hard and truly deserve to enjoy ourselves, even if spending feels tight to me." That empathetic approach, it just shifted the whole conversation. It went from a tense argument to a productive discussion, reduced the tension right away, and it allowed them to actually address the issue constructively, together. Another common one. Jenna and Alex arguing over forgotten groceries. Happens all the time. Jenna was visibly upset because Alex forgot something crucial she needed for dinner. Alex initially felt like, seriously, it's just groceries. He felt she was overreacting. But instead of getting defensive, Alex remembered to try active listening. He validated her feelings first. He said, "Okay, I can understand why you're upset because I forgot to pick up the groceries. I know you needed them, and I'm really sorry about that." Then he asked, "Can you tell me more about why it's bothering you so much right now?" This simple act, validating her feelings, made her feel heard and understood. It encouraged her to express the deeper impact. Maybe she'd had a stressful day. Maybe this felt like a pattern. It helped them find a solution together instead of letting it blow up into a bigger, unnecessary fight. And one more, consider Mark and Dana after Mark suddenly lost his job. A really tough time. Mark was feeling incredibly insecure, really upset, and Dana wanted to support him but wasn't sure how to break through his sort of quiet anxiety. She used active listening to try and connect. She gently paraphrased, "Honey, I can hear that you're feeling really uncertain about the future right now, and you're worried about how we're going to manage financially. Is that right? Is that what's weighing on you?" This showed such deep understanding, genuine concern. It promoted a deeper emotional connection. Mark felt truly supported, truly heard, which then enabled them to actually work together on a practical plan for the future. It strengthened their bond during a really challenging time. So yeah, in each of these cases, active listening transformed potential conflict or emotional distance into moments of real connection and effective problem solving. It's pretty amazing when you see it work.
Wow. Active listening is clearly so powerful, a real game changer, as you said. But trust isn't just built in those conversation moments, is it? What about those quieter habits, the things we do day in and day out that maybe aren't about talking, but really solidify that foundation? What else do we need to cultivate in our daily lives to foster strong, secure relationships that can really last?
That's a fantastic point, because you're right. Beyond just talking and listening, there are these daily actions that truly solidify trust. Many elements contribute to a robust, lasting connection. The ability to trust fully, it's built upon consistent, intentional habits, and they show up in all sorts of ways in our daily interactions, often without us even realizing their profound impact.
Okay, so first up, consistency and reliability. This seems so simple, maybe almost too obvious, but it's often overlooked, isn't it, in our busy, kind of chaotic lives?
It's deceptively simple, yeah, but absolutely critical. Critical for building both confidence and trust, whether that's trust with others or even trust within yourself. It's fundamentally about doing what you say you're going to do and behaving predictably, consistently. Think about any relationship, a leader and their team, a coworker, a friend, a partner. Being reliable means you can be counted on. Simple as that. This includes showing up on time, meeting deadlines, or just fulfilling those small commitments you make. I'll call you later. I'll pick that up. This creates a powerful sense of predictability, security. The opposite, being volatile or unpredictable, maybe flaky. That causes people to withhold trust because they just can't anticipate your reactions or depend on your word. And this principle, it also applies to self-trust. Think about it. When we set intentions or make commitments to ourselves, I'm going to start exercising, I'll finally write that chapter, and then we break those promises repeatedly. It erodes our personal sense of trust and confidence in ourselves. Building that inner confidence requires intentional discipline and consistency. Though it's important to extend grace to ourselves when we falter, right?
Yeah.
We're human. But ultimately, it's about aligning your words with your actions consistently, day in, day out.
Right. Words and actions lining up. And hand in hand with consistency is transparency, you mentioned. What does that look like in practice? And why is it so vital for trust? It sounds like it could be uncomfortable sometimes, being that open.
Yeah, it can be uncomfortable. Transparency means honesty and openness, really having nothing to hide, especially when information might be important to the relationship. It means you share your thoughts, your feelings, your experiences openly, authentically. It means avoiding keeping secrets or trying to sweep uncomfortable issues under the rug. Instead, you address them directly, honestly. This fosters an atmosphere of authenticity, of trust, where people feel they genuinely know where they stand with you. No hidden agendas. In a leadership context, transparency is like having a perfectly clean eyeglass lens, right? It helps you gain clear, unfiltered insights into what's going on within your team or organization. It means acknowledging both successes and challenges openly, and sharing lessons learned from both, not just the wins. For example, I once saw a leader who, while saying, yes, of course, come in to an employee asking for a few minutes, subconsciously kept checking their watch. Body language mismatch. When the employee quite bravely pointed this out later, the leader immediately acknowledged it. They owned the inconsistency between their action and their words. That act of self-awareness, that transparent honesty about a subconscious habit, it actually fostered trust. It showed a real commitment to aligning behavior with intent. Another example, a leader who shares an urgent, challenging task with their team. They don't just delegate it, they trust the team to help accomplish it, and they commit to working alongside them, right there in the trenches. Instead of just dictating from above, that makes employees feel valued, feel part of the bigger picture, builds trust through shared purpose, shared vulnerability even. It's really about pulling back the curtain, even when it feels a little exposed.
That makes perfect sense. It builds that feeling of we're in this together. Okay, so this leads us directly into empathy, the ability to truly understand and share the feelings of another. It feels like the very glue of connection, doesn't it?
It really does. Empathy is often called the cornerstone of meaningful human connections. And for good reason. It's this complex, beautiful ability that allows us to perceive and relate to the thoughts, emotions, and experiences of others. It fosters deep understanding, cooperation. It's truly about trying to put oneself in another's shoes and feel what they might be feeling. There are typically three main types we talk about. First, there's affective empathy. This is where you feel the emotions another person is experiencing. It's a visceral, gut-level connection. You feel sad when they're sad. Then there's cognitive empathy. This refers more to the intellectual understanding of another's emotions, recognizing and interpreting their perspective, even if you don't feel it yourself. And finally, compassionate empathy. This combines both understanding and feeling with a genuine desire to help, to alleviate their suffering or support them. All three types are essential for strong bonds. They work together, ideally, to create robust, resilient relationships. Now, the consequences of lacking empathy, they can be quite serious. It frequently leads to communication breakdowns. It creates emotional distance, increases resentment between people. Misunderstandings become way more frequent. It can cause feelings of isolation, loneliness. It diminishes overall relationship satisfaction. Research consistently shows that relationships really suffer when individuals don't actively engage in empathetic behaviors, like listening, acknowledging feelings. Conversely, empathy builds connection. It allows individuals to understand and resonate with each other's emotions and perspectives. Our brains are actually wired for this. We have mirror neurons that activate when we observe others' emotions. It makes it easier for us to relate, respond with genuine care and support. And in conflicts, empathy is particularly crucial there. It helps bridge different viewpoints by allowing individuals to see the situation through the other person's eyes, which leads to more constructive discussions, actual resolutions, rather than just escalating tensions into a, shouting match or silent treatment.
That's powerful. But how can we actually express empathy? Especially when we're right in the middle of a disagreement. It can be so hard to access that feeling when you're feeling hurt or angry yourself?
It absolutely can be. It takes practice. But there are clear, actionable methods. First, and this is a mindset shift, prioritize connection over winning. Shift your focus from being right or proving your point to genuinely trying to understand the other person's feelings, what's going on for them. Second, active listening is paramount. As we discussed, give your full attention, acknowledge their emotions. Maybe say something like, okay, I can hear that this is really bothering you right now. Third, validate their emotions. Acknowledge their feelings without minimizing them. Even if you don't agree with their reaction, you can understand why they feel that way. Use phrases like, it's completely understandable to feel that way given what happened, or I can see why you'd be upset. This makes them feel seen, heard, validated. Fourth, maybe consider the OFN method: observations, feelings, needs. When it's your turn to speak, try sharing your observations without judgment. When X happened, express your feelings clearly, I felt Y, and then articulate what you need moving forward. What I need is Z. It's a structured way to communicate vulnerably. Lastly, always try to recognize individual perspectives. Understand that everyone's views are shaped by their unique experiences, their history. Open discussions about these differences actually encourage emotional connections. Think about simple, real-world examples too. It doesn't have to be complex. Preparing dinner for a partner who you know is exhausted after a long workday. That's empathy in action. Or simply asking a partner about their feelings during stressful times, and then really listening to the answer. Validating a partner's overwhelming feelings instead of brushing them off with a "don't worry about it" can make all the difference in that moment.
It sounds incredibly rewarding connecting on that level, but it also sounds like it could be draining sometimes. How do we manage empathy without becoming completely overwhelmed or burnt out? Is there such a thing as giving too much?
You're right, it absolutely can be draining if it's not managed well. Empathy burnout is real. While it's powerful, empathy requires a balance. A balance between understanding others and prioritizing your own personal well-being, your own emotional energy. It's about cultivating self-awareness, recognizing when absorbing others' feelings starts to deplete you. So, how to sustain healthy empathy? Continue to practice active listening as we discussed. That helps clarify things, ask open-ended questions, encourage others to express their perspectives fully. This can actually clarify their needs and reduce the emotional burden on you sometimes. Engage with diverse perspectives. Exposing yourself to a variety of viewpoints enriches your empathy, prevents biases, makes you more resilient. Crucially, alternate giving and receiving empathy. Ensure you also express your own feelings and needs. It can't be a one-way street. This prevents emotional exhaustion and builds a more equitable, balanced relationship, where both people feel seen and supported. Finally, adopt a growth mindset. Adapt your empathy levels based on the situation, the individual, allowing you to engage without becoming overwhelmed.
Okay, that's really helpful, finding that balance. Now, for what might be one of the hardest parts for many of us, especially maybe in leadership roles, but really for anyone, vulnerability. Why is it so crucial, and how do we actually embrace it? It feels so counterintuitive sometimes, doesn't it? Almost like admitting weakness.
You've hit on a vital truth there. Vulnerability is absolutely essential for building trust and genuine openness. And you're right, it feels like weakness, but it's actually a profound strength. Brene Brown has done amazing work on this, really reframing it for us. Vulnerability is about allowing yourself to be open, authentic, truly real, imperfect. And that vulnerability creates a deeper connection that goes far beyond superficial interactions. The traditional image, of the tough, stoic, all-knowing leader, it's often outdated now. Today, people, especially younger generations like millennials and Gen Z, they want leaders who share their human side, who show genuine authenticity, flaws and all. This human-centric approach, it amplifies your impact in ways that a rigid, hierarchical approach never could. Research, in fact, indicates that the number one reason teams fail is a lack of trust. Vulnerability directly invites thoughts, insights, even challenges from others. It builds that essential trust. Even iconic figures like Steve Jobs later in his career learned the importance of sharing his emotions. He spoke so openly about his struggles with pancreatic cancer, his mortality, in that famous Stanford commencement speech. That raw honesty, it deepened connections with his audience, with his legacy, in a way just talking about products never could.
Okay, I get the why, but the how do we actually start to embrace that kind of vulnerability when it feels so uncomfortable? Almost like jumping off a cliff sometimes.
Yeah, it can feel like that. To unleash the power of vulnerability, you first have to learn to manage your emotional triggers. Those moments, those comments, those situations that cause you to react defensively or negatively. Shut down. Put up walls. Maybe it's a snarky comment from a board member or a challenge to your authority or just feeling misunderstood. If these triggers aren't identified and understood, you can get trapped by old patterns, like needing to control everything
or desperately defending your ego. The most effective leaders, and honestly the most connected partners, are those who can recognize what is triggering them in the moment, and then choose to respond openly, vulnerably, rather than just react defensively. This often requires deep self-reflection, a real willingness to look inward and understand your own operating system. Why do I react that way? Think about a CEO who struggled to confront a difficult relative on her leadership team. Classic problem. Through vulnerability, through deep self-reflection, she realized her childhood pattern of wanting to please everyone was the root cause of her avoidance. That insight gave her the courage to address the conflict effectively, led to a much healthier team dynamic. Or another example, a new CEO who found herself triggered by a particular director in board meetings, felt compelled to constantly correct them, prove them wrong. After some deep self-reflection, she realized it stemmed from a childhood pattern of needing to be right all the time, a fear of looking incompetent. Recognizing that fear allowed her to hold her tongue, direct her energy to what was best for the business, and shift from defensiveness to creative problem solving. These real-world instances show that acknowledging and understanding your triggers is a critical first step. It paves the way for genuine vulnerability and, by extension, builds profound trust.
That's incredibly insightful, seeing how understanding yourself unlocks that ability. Can you give us more real-world examples of vulnerability in action, especially maybe from a leadership perspective? It's one thing to understand the concept, another to really see it play out in those high-stakes situations.
Absolutely. Rita Roy, the CEO of the MasterCard Foundation, offers some really compelling examples. Early in her tenure, she made a pretty controversial choice to focus the foundation's efforts heavily on sub-Saharan Africa. Later, when a microfinancing program in one country completely failed, like not a single loan had been issued, she and her team didn't hide it or spin it. Instead, they visited. They listened. They discovered their preconceived assumptions were totally wrong. People actually wanted savings accounts, not more loans. So they changed the program completely. Her willingness to admit the mistake, to pivot based on feedback, it strengthened relationships with the community immensely. On another occasion, a partner organization openly criticized the foundation during a public forum, basically saying they made partners beg for money. Ouch. Rita Roy didn't get defensive. She stood up immediately right there and apologized, acknowledged the foundation's misstep. She said something like, "Thank you for being candid. You should expect better from us, and we will take action to change." Those moments of humility, of direct action, built significant trust. They demonstrated positive vulnerability, reinforcing the importance of visible actions and trust-based relationships. Another powerful example comes from Michael Fisher, former CEO of Cincinnati Children's Hospital. When he was diagnosed with cancer back in 2018, despite being a naturally private person, he chose to be vulnerable and transparent. He communicated his illness and his progress through letters and videos directly to his employees and the wider community. This humanized him. It effectively role modeled the very behaviors and values of the team and the institution itself. It showed that being real, being transparent, even in personal struggles, can maintain influence and build profound trust. These instances highlight that vulnerability isn't about weakness, right? It's about immense strength, authenticity, and a commitment to genuine connection. And it links to something else too. Think about what many of us spend our time creating. To-do lists, endless to-do lists. But how many of us have a to-be list? This is a deliberate reminder of who you want to be, how you want to show up and behave every single day. Maybe open, warm, empathetic, receptive to other points of view. It's a focus on personal growth rather than perception management. Moving from constantly trying to prove yourself to constantly seeking to improve.
A to-be list. I love that. Okay, we talked so much about what we bring to the relationship or listening: consistency, empathy, vulnerability. What about the space between us? How do boundaries fit into building and maintaining trust?
Boundaries. Yes. Setting and respecting boundaries is absolutely crucial. In any relationship, personal or professional, it's about clearly communicating your own limits, your own needs, what's okay, what's not okay for you. And equally important, being attentive to and respecting your partner's or colleagues' boundaries. This mutual understanding, this respect for limits, it creates a truly safe space for both individuals. When boundaries are respected, it demonstrates a deep level of consideration, regard for each other's needs, comfort, autonomy. It fosters a healthy dynamic where both partners feel secure and understood. It also prevents unrealistic expectations from burdening the relationship. You know what you can reasonably expect from each other. It's about knowing where one person ends and the other begins, and respecting that space, keeping the relationship healthy.
And inevitably, things will go wrong sometimes. We're human. Mistakes happen. promises get broken? How do we repair those cracks in the foundation of trust, especially when that painful feeling of betrayal or disappointment sets in?
You're right, mistakes are indeed inevitable. No relationship is immune. What matters most, really, is how these mistakes are addressed, how you navigate the repair process. The path to healing usually begins with apology and forgiveness, taking responsibility for your actions, offering a sincere apology when needed. This is crucial for rebuilding trust. And a sincere apology, it goes beyond just saying, "I'm sorry." It requires understanding the true impact of your actions on the other person and expressing genuine remorse for that impact, seeing it from their side. On the flip side, being able to forgive, truly forgive, and move forward is equally important. Holding on to grudges, resentment. It slowly erodes trust over time, keeps the wound open. While forgiveness, when it's earned and when it's possible, allows the relationship to heal, to grow stronger, and to move past the transgression. This is particularly vital in how couples navigate conflict. How well you address disagreements, how effectively you repair afterwards, that determines the resilience and strength of your bond. It allows it to bend, hopefully, but not break.
Right, the repair is as important as the mistake itself. Okay, so beyond the big dramatic moments of apology and forgiveness, there's also the day-to-day dependability. This sounds like such a simple habit, but it packs a powerful punch, doesn't it? Just being there for someone.
Exactly. It's huge. One of the true tests of trust is how you support each other during challenging times, the small challenges and the big ones. Being dependable in times of need. It simply means being there for your partner, your friend, your team member when they need you the most. Whether that's offering a shoulder to lean on, practical assistance like bringing over soup when they're sick, or just a non-judgmental listening ear. This consistent reliability, it solidifies the trust they have in you. It creates a profound sense of security. Reinforces the belief that you are a constant, reliable presence in their life, someone they can count on when things get tough. It really means asking yourself, what would I want if I were in need right now? And then trying to act on that understanding for others. It's that quiet, consistent showing up that builds rock-solid trust over time.
And what about celebrating the good times and also maintaining who you are as an individual within the relationship? These seem less about fixing problems and maybe more about simply thriving together.
You've nailed it. These are often overlooked, but they are absolutely vital for a thriving relationship's health and longevity. It's not all about problems. First, celebrate wins together, big and small. Acknowledge achievements, milestones, even those everyday victories, as a team, as partners. Whether they're individual wins or shared successes, celebrating them fosters mutual support. It creates a deep feeling of being a unified team, rooting for each other. Your partner's wins should genuinely feel like your wins, and vice versa. Second, and equally important, is to maintain individuality, your sense of self. It's critically important to have your own interests, passions, friendships, pursuits outside of the relationship. This isn't about creating distance or secrecy. It's about personal growth and renewal, staying vibrant. Encourage personal hobbies and interests independently. Respect each other's need for space, for time alone, or with other people. As relationship experts like Esther Perel often emphasize, you cannot be everything to your partner, nor should you be. Maintaining your unique identity, recharting independently, actually makes you a more whole, engaging, and interesting partner when you do come together. And finally, a crucial, often unspoken relationship habit is to focus on physical intimacy and connection. Now, this isn't just about sex, though that's part of it for many couples. It's about maintaining touch, hugs, holding hands, casual affection, all the small connecting points. And importantly, it's about communicating openly about physical needs and desires. What feels good? What are you longing for? What are your boundaries? Approaching this aspect of the relationship with kindness, curiosity, maybe even some levity and playfulness, can ensure both partners feel heard, desired, and met. And as we discussed earlier, that link between communication satisfaction and sexual satisfaction, it underscores the profound importance of this open dialogue in fostering a holistic, trusting bond.
Okay, so we've outlined this really powerful set of habits, haven't we? Building trust and connection. Everything from active listening, consistency, transparency, empathy, vulnerability, setting boundaries, repair, dependability, celebrating wins, maintaining self. What does this look like when we zoom out to the bigger picture? From our most intimate partnerships to broader team dynamics at work and even how we trust ourselves, do these same principles really apply across such different contexts?
That's a fantastic question. And the answer is a resounding yes. Absolutely. If we connect all these threads to the bigger picture, these habits are indeed universally applicable across all human connections, regardless of their nature. Relationships, at their core, you could say they're like a team sport. As the author Young Pueblo noted in his Lessons from Marriage, the main thing all relationships need is balance. Reciprocity. Both people should be giving and receiving. Support, effort, attention, forgiveness. If one person is constantly doing all the emotional heavy lifting, all the forgiving, all the problem solving, or always taking the lead, things will inevitably turn sideways. Resentment builds. Both partners, whether in a romantic relationship or a professional collaboration, should feel like equals. Even if they have different strengths, different preferences, different roles, they should feel like they are collaboratively designing the culture of love in their shared home, or the culture of collaboration in their shared workspace. This shared ownership, this reciprocal effort is what truly builds deep, enduring trust, that feeling of being in it together.
That makes perfect sense, that idea of balance and shared creation. And how does this translate specifically into the workplace? We hear a lot about psychological safety these days. Is that related to these habits we've been discussing?
Absolutely. It's directly related. The concept of psychological safety is huge in organizational psychology right now, and it perfectly encapsulates how these trust-building habits apply to professional teams. Psychological safety, basically, means employees feel comfortable speaking up, offering opinions, suggesting ideas, asking questions, raising concerns, even admitting mistakes, all without fearing negative consequences. It's about creating an environment where taking interpersonal risks, like speaking your mind, offering a bold or unfinished idea, challenging the status quo, feels safe, not career limiting. This concept generally has 4 key elements that bring it to life. First, a willingness to help each other, where employees genuinely believe asking for help is okay, even encouraged, and that their colleagues are willing to pitch in. Second, fostering inclusion and diversity, where employees feel a strong sense of belonging and believe their unique experiences and expertise genuinely matter and are welcome, not just tolerated. Third, cultivating a positive attitude to risk and failure, where employees view mistakes and failures not as something to hide or blame someone for, but as invaluable opportunities for learning and growth, for innovation. And fourth, encouraging open, candid conversations, where employees perceive discussions as safe spaces to contribute honestly, without judgment or fear of reprisal, even if their view differs from the majority or the boss. The importance of psychological safety, honestly, it cannot be overstated in today's world. It significantly boosts employee satisfaction, creativity, performance, innovation, and overall team efficacy, especially within dynamic teams operating in those volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous VUCA environments, where clarity, agility, and trust are absolutely paramount. And while diversity undeniably offers huge benefits, its true power is unlocked by psychological safety. Without it, diverse teams can actually underperform compared to less diverse, but more psychologically safe counterparts, because people won't speak up.
Okay, that really clarifies what it is and why it's so important. So how do leaders actually go about establishing this critical psychological safety in their teams? It sounds like it requires more than just, putting up a poster saying you have an open door policy.
It definitely does. It requires intentional action. There are maybe 5 key ways leaders can establish and nurture it. First, talk about it and prioritize it. Leaders must openly discuss psychological safety, explain what it is, why it matters, and dispel misconceptions like it doesn't mean constant comfort or avoiding disagreement. No, it's about creating an environment where taking necessary risks for learning and innovation feels safe, not where everything is always easy or conflict-free. Second, actively push beyond impression management. Help team members overcome that natural self-protective tendency to stay quiet. To avoid looking incompetent or uninformed or negative, leaders need to explicitly emphasize it's about the group's success. Mistakes are for learning. Disagreement, if respectful, is welcome. And while not every single idea gets implemented, all perspectives are genuinely considered. This shifts the focus from individual perfection to collective learning and growth. Third, consider implementing a psychological safety scale or assessment. This is a practical tool, often a short survey with statements employees rate their agreement with, like, I'm comfortable asking other members of my team for help, or my unique skills are valued on this team. This helps assess current levels of safety and pinpoint specific areas needing improvement. Gives you data. Fourth, promote conversation with structure, like maybe using jazz dialogues or similar frameworks. This comes from work by strategic advisors. It encourages active listening, building on others' contributions, responding to emerging ideas rather than sticking rigidly to pre-planned thoughts. The rules are simple. Listen more, speak less, ask clarifying questions, build on ideas, co-create. This intentional structure fosters more meaningful, inclusive dialogue. And finally, fifth, continually reassess and adjust. Psychological safety isn't a one-and-done thing. It's like muscular strength. It requires ongoing effort, maintenance, and reassessment. Leaders should regularly solicit constructive feedback, ideally one-on-one where people might feel safer, and adjust practices to maintain and strengthen this vital team attribute. It's an ongoing commitment, a continuous practice.
That's a really practical roadmap for the professional realm, building trust at scale. But shifting back to all relationships, what about when setbacks inevitably occur? When we fumble, when we miss the mark, when trust gets damaged despite our best efforts? Because no one's perfect, right? And trust can feel so fragile in those moments.
You're absolutely right. No relationship is without its challenges, and mistakes will happen. We will fumble. The key, truly, is how you handle those moments, the repair process. First, be forgiving, both of yourself and of others. Understand that progress isn't always linear. You will have bad days. You might revert to old behaviors under stress. That's human. Extend grace. Recognize that growth is a process, not a perfect destination. Second, communicate openly about the setback. Talk through the challenges honestly. What happened? Why did it happen? How did it impact each person? Importantly, reaffirm your commitment to growth and your commitment to the relationship itself. Communication is vital, but affirmation expressing how you still value the person and the relationship despite the mistake goes just as far in reassuring them. And third, don't be afraid to seek help when needed. Seriously. Don't hesitate to consider therapy or counseling, whether individual or couples or even team coaching. Get outside support. Having a neutral third party can be absolutely game-changing.
They can guide you through conflicts, offer new perspectives, provide tools and strategies you might not discover on your own. So many couples and teams have found it incredibly valuable in navigating difficult patches and emerging stronger, more connected, and with better skills than before. There's no shame in it.
What an incredible deep dive this has been into the practical art, really, of building trust. It's so clear that this isn't just abstract theory. It's about tangible daily efforts, habits, across all facets of our lives.
Indeed. It really is. The journey of building trust, it's continuous. It's a beautiful, ongoing work in progress, never really finished. It requires consistent effort, yes. A willingness to be vulnerable, absolutely. And a deep commitment to understanding and empathizing with others. It's about recognizing that every small interaction matters. Every moment of honest communication, every act of reliability, every time you choose empathy over judgment, each one adds a crucial brick to that foundation. It's not always about grand once-in-a-lifetime gestures, though those have their place too, I suppose, but it's mostly about the cumulative power of small, consistent actions that demonstrate your trustworthiness day after day.
So wrapping this all up, what's the key takeaway for you, our listener, from this entire deep dive? If there's one thing we hope you carry with you, what would it be?
The most crucial lesson, I think, is that trust isn't really a destination you arrive at. It's more like a way of moving through the world. It's rooted deeply in self-awareness, first knowing yourself and then courageous interaction with others. It's about making a conscious, deliberate effort to show up authentically as your real self, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it means admitting a mistake or truly being vulnerable or setting a difficult boundary. When you consistently prioritize these habits we've talked about, active listening, unwavering consistency, radical transparency, deep empathy, genuine vulnerability, you don't just build stronger relationships, though you certainly do that. You fundamentally change the quality of your life and the quality of the lives of those around you, creating richer, more secure, and deeply fulfilling connections that ripples outward.
That's beautifully put. Trust as a way of moving through the world. So as you go about your week, we leave you with this provocative thought to maybe chew on. Where in your life right now can you practice just one of these habits, even in the smallest possible way, to build just a little more trust today? What tiny, consistent step could you take to make one of your relationships feel just a bit more secure, more connected, more genuinely you? Think about one conversation you could approach differently this week. Maybe practice active listening more intentionally. Or one promise, however small, you could ensure you keep. Follow through. Or maybe one moment where you could choose vulnerability, just a little bit, over holding back or protecting yourself. The impact, even of that one small step, might just surprise you.